On today's show, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Houston Rockets win against a depleted Phoenix Suns team. Jalen Green scoring efficiently. Jabari Smith Jr. with a big first half. So what happened in the second half? Alperen Sengun rebounding at an elite rate. KPJ struggling for a majority of this game. Turnovers as a team. And hey, are fake wins really a thing, or is every win a good win? We're going to break it all down for you right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
The Houston Rockets select Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
You're getting somebody who's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, somebody who's going to come in and compete from day one.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays, host of the State of the Rockets podcast, as well as Rockets Watch. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where we have a very important question to ask today, and I'm going to tackle this just kind of throughout the show, but I'll dive headfirst in segment 3 specifically. Are fake wins a thing? Are fake wins actually a thing? Or is every win a good win? Let me know in the YouTube comments. I'm very curious to see what other people's opinions are of this game specifically and of that topic, because I think it's going to be a very divisive topic. Rockets won against the Phoenix Suns, the shorthanded Phoenix Suns. No Devin Booker, still no Cam Johnson, who's been out forever. No Deandre Ayton in the second half, no Payne in the second half for the Suns. A lot of third string action for Phoenix in this game. Rockets win 111-97. We're going to focus on the good, the bad, and the ugly in today's show. We're going to go in just that order. So let's start with the good from this game, because there were some good takeaways from this Suns game. Before I dive into it's not even doom and gloom. I just, I feel very meh about this win, and I'll elaborate on that further. But let's start with the positives from this game. Positive number 1, Jalen Green. Efficient, good night. I'll say efficient, good night, despite the shooting struggles from long range. Just 1 of 7 from 3 for Jalen. He was 7 of 17 overall. He was 11 of 12 at the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, only a couple turnovers on the way to 26 points across the 37 minutes played. That's really solid. And this was legitimately a wire-to-wire win for the Rockets, right? They jumped out early, and they led, and they never trailed, right? A wire-to-wire win is good. And you like to see the Rockets be able to, kind of build up a big lead and maintain a big lead. Even though they were maintaining a big lead against, second and third string guys, you still this team last year might have built up this big lead against a team that is shorthanded like this Suns team was, and then cough it up in the third or the fourth quarter. And they kind of almost did. The Suns went on a little bit of a run there in the fourth quarter and looked like they were going to make it a game. And then, Rockets, locked things down and got back into it and closed this thing out strong. So Jalen had a good night. And I do really like his ability and his newfound ability to be able to get to the free throw line, especially when his outside shot isn't falling, right? If Jalen didn't have the 11 of 12 free throw shooting night, if he only made it to the line 3 or 4 times or whatever, and still was sitting on the 7 of 17 shooting, then you're looking at him, having less than 20 points on a really inefficient night, and you're like, okay, that's kind of ugly. But as long as he has 2 of 3 things working for him, right? If he's scoring inside, if he's scoring from the perimeter, 3-point line, or if he's scoring from the free throw line, right? Give me 2 of those 3 things, you're going to have an efficient night from Jalen Green. So you look at the box score, the 7 of 17, it's actually better than that because he got to the free throw line so much. It kind of helped to make up for the fact that he wasn't hitting anything from beyond the 3-point line. So you like that from Jalen Green. Jabari Smith Jr., really impressive first half of play. Jabari had 12 points on 4 of 4 shooting in the first half. hit a few three-pointers, looked good, was playing some solid defense. All in all, a really great half from Jabari Smith Jr. We'll talk about in the bad section what happened in the second half with Jabari Smith Jr. And then elsewhere, Alperen Sengun, 16 rebounds in this game. 6 of them were offensive boards. He was just attacking the glass relentlessly in this game. Really, really solid job by Alperen Sengun. Compare that to Deandre Ayton, who granted only played half the game, but Ayton only had 3 rebounds. Torrey Craig had 12 rebounds for the Suns, but Alperen Sengun was feasting on the glass for the Rockets, and that's what you want to see out of Alpy. You want to see him hustling. You want to see him fighting for loose balls. You want to see him generating extra opportunities for the Rockets. That's great. These are all very, some very, very solid positives to draw from. Tari Eason off the Rockets bench had 10.7 boards, a steal, a couple blocks. Really solid overall night for Tari Eason. There are some genuine quality takeaways from this game. And overall, the Rockets played a good defensive game. The Rockets were not the sole reason the Suns shot 32% from the floor or 25.5% from 3. That's not it whatsoever. The Rockets played a good game. They were hustling. They made some good plays. Garrison Matthews had some nice hustle plays in this game. He had 8 points, 4 boards off the Rockets bench. Daishen Nix, 8 points, 4 boards, rebound and a steal. Did have 4 turnovers. There was some really sloppy play from Daishen Nix throughout this one.
You know what? I don't want to talk about Daishen Nix. I just don't understand it. I don't know what's going on, and it's a lot of Daishen Nix.
So maybe I should have pushed Daishen Nix to the bad section with the turnovers. But there were some positive takeaways from this game, right? And by and large, Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr., 2 of the main reasons that the Rockets had so much success in this game, and 2 of the main reasons that the Rockets won this game. And that generally, after every win this season, I've been this good win, great for the guys, great for chemistry, great for building camaraderie, all this stuff. This win I'm a little bit less enthused about, right? I want to talk about some of the bad from this game coming up in the next segment. We're going to talk about KPJ's struggles, the Rockets' turnovers as a team, playing second and third string guys against the Suns. I'm going to talk about that, but first, today's episode is brought to you by Turo. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from point A to point B. You can even test drive that new electric vehicle that you've had your eye on to see how it fits your everyday lifestyle. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to your doorstep. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions do apply. Forget boring car rentals and find your drive at Turo.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, I completely forgot to mention it there in segment 1, but Jalen Green, your Locked On Rockets player of the game. Again, solid night for Jalen Green. A little bit less efficient in the second half, but again, the ability for him to get to the free throw line kind of makes up for some of the inefficiency as far as just shooting from the floor goes. Jalen was 5 of 9 shooting in the first half on his way to 16 points. Then he had 10 points the rest of the way on 2 of 8 shooting in the second half, but again, was getting to the free throw line, 6 of 7 free throw shooting in the second half. So you do like to see that out of Jalen Green, the aggressiveness, getting to the free throw line, all that. It helps kind of curb his game when he is missing that outside shot. And then when he's got the outside shot on and the rest of it's working, then he's basically unguardable, and that's when he pops off for 30 plus. So let's talk about some of the bad from this game. KPJ started off the game really solid. I thought he had 2 or 3 really nice dimes early in the first quarter. And then the game kind of just, I don't know, with KPJ, it just gets to a point where he was forcing a lot of bad mid-range shots that weren't really going in. He didn't have the 3 ball falling, just 2 of 8 from long distance. Got to the free throw line 5 times, hit 4 of them. There was a moment where the Rockets were shooting a technical foul free throw, And it's still so peculiar to me why KPJ is the one taking that free throw shot, as it was to a million other people. Rockets fans all clamoring on social media, why is KPJ taking the tech? Doesn't make, look, Jalen's not like, a 90% free throw shooter or something, but why is that KPJ's job? Why is that KPJ's role on the team to take the technical free throw? That should be Jalen's job, right? Like, Jalen's the franchise guy. Jalen's the best free throw shooter on the court. Even if Eric Gordon was out there, I'd feel better about Eric Gordon taking the free throw, because Eric Gordon's just a better free throw shooter. All that to say, KPJ I thought he had a really rough game in this one, being completely honest. 18.6 of 16 shooting, 4 turnovers, some sloppy play. And then there's this, there was this moment where KPJ kind of hit the deck offensively and, was a little slow to get up, looked like he might be in a little bit of pain. And then he has this like thing where sometimes he looks injured sometimes when he's playing. Like, he'll be out there kind of hobbling around a little bit. And you're like, all right, like, what is happening? Like, are you hurt? Right? If you're hurt, go sit down, right? This isn't game 7. This isn't like the NBA finals or the playoffs or whatever. Like, there's nothing to be gained by playing hurt here. There's no valiant effort, whatever, like none of that. Like, if you're hurt, go sit down, because the points that I'm really like remembering and thinking about, right, is he was kind of hobbling around defensively, gave like a half-hearted like defensive contest, didn't rotate over to stop one of the Suns' bigs from like rolling into the basket, gave up an easy 2 points, right? But then like another possession or two later offensively, he had the ball and he's back to like his full-blown like, fast twitch, like explosive, whatever, looks fine offensively. So it's, right, are you hurt or are you not hurt? And maybe it's, maybe it got better, maybe, it got a little bit better, loosened up, a couple possessions later. But I feel like KPJ consistently has moments over the course of a game where he looks like he's not moving at 100%, or he looks a little bit hobbled, whatever. And if that's the case, then just rest, man. Sit out some games, miss some time. Like, I get it. Maybe you want to be on the court. You want to be out there playing with your guys. Sure. But it's a disservice to Kevin to be out there if he's not 100%. It's a disservice to his teammates. It's a disservice to his coaching staff if he is playing hurt, right? And I echoed the sentiment earlier this season when Steven Silas left KPJ in the game, and he was very clearly beleaguered, injured, hurt, whatever. I was vehemently against that, and I still am, right? If KPJ's hurt, he needs to be sitting out games. Elsewhere from the bad, Jabari Smith Jr., the other side of Jabari's game, and this isn't even Jabari's fault, is the problem. Jabari had a big first half, and then his teammates forgot he existed in the second half. Jabari Smith Jr. finished this game with less field goal attempts, either equal to, hang on. The only guys who had less field goal attempts than Jabari Smith Jr. in this game were Bruno Fernando with 2, Garuba with 0, and Daishen Nix with 3. Garrison Matthews had 5 field goal attempts, tying Jabari Smith Jr. KJ Martin had 5 field goal attempts, tying Jabari Smith Jr. And everybody else on the team had more field goal attempts than the number 3 overall pick. And the 5th attempt that Jabari got, his one shot in the second half, was off of an offensive rebound kick out by Alperen Sengun. And Jabari drove it in and missed the layup. That's it. Like, for a guy that went 4 of 4 shooting in the first half, was 3 of 3 from long distance, had 12 points, you would think that they would maybe try to get him a bit more involved in the second half. It is mind-boggling how little the Rockets prioritize the number 3 overall selection in this year's draft in Jabari Smith Jr. It really is, right? He's got talent. The confidence is there. He's hitting his shots now. I don't need to see them drawing up plays every other possession for Jabari Smith Jr., but just the lack of awareness from Kevin or Jalen to want to get Jabari more involved in what they're doing offensively, to be like, hey, like, how many threes did he hit in the first 3? Oh, yeah, let's get him some more shots in the second half, right? All of Jabari's shots either just come, in the broken flow of the offense, or, he dribbles into some pull-up threes in transition, and that's it, right? And I don't know. It's really disappointing, because there are way too many times where Jabari gets looked off or just not even seen at all. Like when he's in the corners, when defenses rotate. There was a play at one point in the second half of this game, I believe, where like Rockets ran a pick and roll with Bruno Fernando, and then Bruno caught the ball on the roll, and Jabari was just wide open in the corner. It's like Bruno didn't even see him, man. Like moments like that, you got to know A, how to find your number 3 overall pick offensively, and then B, you've got to be able to just find the open shooter. And yeah, the Rockets won this game, like, and they were still, they were in control of this game from the tip off, but I don't know. There's things that I think, I care about the process, right? I care about what things look like from point A to point B. I don't just care about, oh, they got the win, everything's golden, everything's awesome, right? And the process by which the Rockets got this win, to me, was not super duper impressive. Elsewhere, Rockets had a ton of turnovers, 22 turnovers. Any team that commits more than 20 turnovers, like, you have almost zero business to win that game. The Suns had just a historically bad shooting night. Some of that was the Rockets defense, but also Mikal Bridges shot 4 of 24 in this game, right? 4 of 24, 2 of 10 from long distance. That ties his worst shooting game of the entire season, because he shot 2 of 12 at one point earlier this season, so same percentage across the marks. And all these shots, right? Mikal Bridges with 24 attempts, Chris Paul with 17 attempts, Landry Shamet with 13 attempts. These are all buckets and attempts that would have been going to Devin Booker had he been healthy and playing, and that's the guy that hung 40 on the Rockets the last time these two teams played. So pardon me for not getting crazy excited that the Suns had to divvy up their shot profile across the board to a bunch of other guys who also seemingly just nobody was on in this game for the Suns. Like DeAndre Ayton airballed 2 shots right at the rim, uncontested, just offensive putbacks where he just completely whiffed it right at the cup, smoked it. The Suns smoked a bunch of layups. Torrey Craig, 2 of 9 shooting elsewhere in the starting line. I mean, just this is bad offensive game from the Suns. And to the Rockets' credit, they've had a good job. They've done a good job in some of these like ugly, gritty, messy, muddy defensive games where they've been able to pull out some wins, sure. But against this Suns team playing against second and third string guys, I can't bring myself to be as excited about this win as some of the other wins, like against the Atlanta Hawks or the really big win against the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, some of those wins are good, quantifiable, amazing, awesome wins for a variety of reasons. This one just didn't feel that way. Like, this Phoenix Suns team is not a contending team without Devin Booker and only a half of play, only 8 minutes of play from Cam Payne and, 15 minutes of play from DeAndre Ayton and all the shooting struggles on top of it. Like, this was not the contending Phoenix Suns that the Rockets played against. So I feel like I'm up on this soapbox right now, and I didn't intend to get on the soapbox in the second segment. I wanted to push that and kind of discuss in the third segment the crux of my argument here, and that is, right, are fake wins a thing? Are fake wins a thing in the NBA, or is every win a good win? Going to talk about that in segment 3, but first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis this season. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and to the World Cup. They've got it all for you over at BetOnline.net. And right now, you can take a look at who the odds-on favorites are to win the NBA title this season. The Boston Celtics, after their big come-from-behind win in LA against the Lakers, leading the way at plus 325. The Milwaukee Bucks in second place at plus 600. Golden State Warriors in third at plus 800. And then the LA Clippers at plus 900. And rounding out the top 5, also the Phoenix Suns at plus 900. So for all of those odds and more, be sure to visit betonline.net to learn about the trends in action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, time for me to get up on my soapbox because, I don't know, I feel some kind of way about this win. Now, I've had a solid amount of pushback on this, and I'm probably going to, if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. The show isn't meant to, sometimes we're going to have disagreements, right? And I like hearing, I love hearing other people's opinions on things, right? Because I've said it before, and I'll say it time and time again on this show. My favorite meal is crow, right? I love being wrong about stuff. I do. And I love learning and I love growing as a person and having other people share their thoughts, insight, analysis, whatever with me, and then I can grow from that. But the way that I view this game is I view it as kind of a hollow win or a meh win. That doesn't mean I wanted the Rockets to, bench their A team and go into this game and lose it on purpose because the Suns didn't have Devin Booker. I'm not sitting here championing losses. If you've listened to the show consistently at all this season, or even, in years prior, up until maybe the tail end of last season, right, where I started actually saying, all right, we need to start collecting some L's. At no point this season have I sat here and said the Rockets need to lose games. They need to, I didn't walk into the Spurs game saying the Rockets need to lose this Spurs game. That's never been my mentality. But in the aftermath of this game, it feels like the way that they got this win is just if I were ranking the quality of wins against opponents this season for the Rockets across their 9 wins so far, this win against the Suns would be at the very, very back. This would be the worst win of the season. And here's my argument. Here's my premise, right? Because there was this topic amongst Rockets fans online of, fake wins, hollow wins, empty wins, whatever you want to call them. If it's possible for a team like the Rockets, especially in the midst of a rebuild, if it's possible for a Rockets team to have good losses, right? Moral victories, you competed hard, it was a good team, you didn't quite win, right? It's a lot of the stuff that we tell ourselves here when the Rockets do lose games, but in competitive fashion, where they don't get blown out, where they're fighting tooth and nail, where they have a chance, maybe some 50-50 balls break the other way, and we're talking about a Rockets dub instead of an L, whatever. If it's possible to have good losses, why is it not also possible to have bad wins, right? And this, to me, was a bad Rockets win. I felt like the Suns beat themselves more than the Rockets beat the Suns in this game, right? Again, depleted Suns team, missing a bunch of their key guys. Everybody has an off shooting night. Some of that was the Rockets. Some of that was their defense, sure. Rockets didn't have a good game. They shot 42% from the floor, 34% from 3. They had 22 turnovers. They didn't get their number 3 overall pick involved in the second half. Alperen Sengun was a non-factor offensively for a majority of the game, even in the 5 to 6 minute stretch at the top of the second quarter where LP was out there without Jalen, without Kevin, and yet they didn't run a single post-up opportunity for LP. There's a lot of this game that I really didn't enjoy or didn't like as far as the process of winning is concerned for the Rockets. I do think it's nice they were able to string together a couple wins in a row. I think it's great that Steven Silas, who rejoined the Rockets for this game after the passing of his father, got to come back and experience a win and see that these guys are still fighting hard for him. I think those are positives for sure. But then what happens is you look at the quality of this win, right? This is not a great win because you're playing against Phoenix Suns second and third stringers, and the way you got the win is not great. And then what it makes me think of, and what it makes a lot of people think of, is, okay, well, this is a season that is the final season where the Rockets have a chance to be bad, right? Where they have a chance to be at the bottom of the standings and procure another top draft asset. And then these types of wins, which the Rockets haven't had a win like this yet this season, right? I feel like the previous 8 games have all, more or less been good wins, right? Wins where you feel good about the team afterwards. You feel like it's something to build on, something that can be, a tool, for Steven Silas to continue teaching the guys, whatever you want to call it, right? But a win like this makes me think, man, a few more of these kinds of wins, and then suddenly the Rockets could be talking about having the 8th or 9th or 10th pick in this year's draft instead of being, the 1st or 2nd or 3rd or 4th overall pick, right? And this is a very top-heavy draft. There is a lot of talent in the top side of this draft. So dropping and not being in the top 5 might not be the end of the world, but in the grand scheme of things, this game means infinitely less. This one individual game, and again, more games like it this season, wins like this one, which I'm going to quantify as a bad win, an empty win, a hollow win, whatever. And you can, in the YouTube comments, tell me if I'm wrong. Push back on this if you want to. in the grand scheme of things, if the Rockets rack up more wins like this game this season, then they reduce their draft odds at a chance at a top prospect, right? And this is the last year that they have a chance to bottom out, be bad, focus on development, all those buzzwords, right? And you look at these previous couple seasons, right? If the Rockets had a few more wins here and there, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5 more wins, a few more wins, over the course of these past 2 seasons, then you're looking at a core of Trey Mann and Keegan Murray, maybe, instead of Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. How bleak would the future be at that point? And that's not even shade at Keegan Murray. I think Keegan Murray is actually like a great player. But like maybe we go for maybe go further down, in the draft order, right? Maybe it's Trey Mann and Shaedon Sharpe. And even Shaedon Sharpe's had a strong year. He's got some highlight reel plays, whatever. Point is, right, is the Rockets have 2 amazing cornerstone building block type players in Jalen and Jabari, and they only got those guys by being the worst team in the NBA a couple seasons in a row. I am not campaigning for the Rockets to go out there and actively lose games. And I'm not even saying that they should have lost this game against the Suns. My argument is just that the win and the potential side effects of the win further down the line are not good. And it makes me feel more meh about the win because of that, because of all the factors that I've just discussed, kind of laid out, hashed out, all of that. So are fake wins a thing? I don't know. Fake wins is probably a very harsh way to categorize it because, again, at the end of the day, these professional athletes are not in the business of going out there trying to lose games, right? If this Rockets team could have their way, they'd go 82-0, right? They would win every single game. They'd be fighting for a playoff spot, all of that. The reality is they're a young team. They make a lot of mistakes. They're not going to win 82 games, right? They're not even going to win enough games to be in the play-in tournament, but they want to win the games that they can win. And there's I talk about the human element all the time of being an athlete, right? Of these are not 2K players. This isn't, 2K22, simulate a season, my GM mode, my organization mode, whatever, where you simulate the games and these are human beings with complex thoughts, feelings, emotions, drives, incentives, goals, ambitions, all of that, right? And these guys want to win games, and that much I get. I wasn't a fan of the way that they won this game. I wasn't a fan of the context behind the win of this game. I wasn't a fan of the opponent that they played, right? The quality of the opponent. All of those factors, I think, add context into the way that I feel about this win. And again, the Rockets have had 8 other wins this season, and at no point have I griped about them winning games up until this one, because this one felt empty to me. So that's it. That's me on my soapbox. That's me sending my message. I want to know your opinion, right? Let me know if I'm completely off base here, if I'm wrong, if I'm not looking at things the right way, whatever. Let me know because I'm very curious to know what other people's opinions are on this matter. Now that said, I do want to run a tankathon spin because the Rockets. I've also had a decent bit of luck. I haven't run. I don't think it's a single tankathon spin on LOR yet this season. So that should be another point in, another feather in the cap of me for not advocating for tanking. Because I don't sit here and advocate for the Rockets to lose games. At least not yet. I will later in the season once the real tankathon race kind of gets here, quarter of the way left in the season. That's when I'm going to be like, all right, where are the Pistons at? Where's Charlotte at? Where's Orlando at? Like, how are the Rockets looking, shaping up to those teams? All of that. But at least right now, wins are fine. I'm cool with wins. And I enjoy the wins. I like talking about wins, usually. So with that, let's run a quick tankathon spin because the Rockets currently have the 4th best odds in the lottery, tied actually with San Antonio for the 4th best odds. Right now it's Detroit, Charlotte, Orlando, then Houston and San Antonio, both at 9 and 18. That's the top 5 for the odds in this year's NBA draft lottery as it stands right now. Let's go ahead and spin this baby. Ooh. That's a brutal one. All right, a lot of movement on this one. Orlando jumps up 2 spots to the number 1 overall pick. Miami jumps up 8 spots to the number 2 overall pick. OKC jumps up 4 spots to the number 3 overall pick. San Antonio jumped up 1 spot to number 4. Detroit clocks in at 5. Charlotte is at number 6. Houston dropped 3 spots to number 7 overall. The Wizards are at 8. And then the Lakers and Bulls are 9 and 10, which those go to the Pelicans and the Magic respectively. So there you go. The 9 and 18 Rockets, tied for the 4th worst odds to win the lottery, fell to pick number 7. So, that doesn't feel great, right? Because then suddenly you're not in the running for Scoot or Wemby or Eamon Thompson, Cam Whitmore. Like, it's tough, right? Because then you maybe miss out on another crucial building block for the Houston Rockets moving forward. I don't know. I feel like we're going to revisit this discussion as the season moves on, but I feel like at this point I'm just kind of ranting. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. I do genuinely want to get other perspectives, other commentary on this. So let me know in the YouTube comments. I do read each and every one of those every single day. As always, appreciate you for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app. Free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Go let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.